Dad, are we finally safe?
Yes, my little star, no one will ever take you from me again.
Then let this be the first day of lasting peace.
What if I told you that somewhere, right now, there exists a family so powerful, so incredibly wealthy, that every billionaire you know looks poor compared to them? What if I told you that this family has been hiding in plain sight for centuries, controlling governments, banks, and major corporations across the entire world? Most people have never even heard their names. Most governments refuse to acknowledge they exist. But the truth behind this will absolutely shock you. Today, we are diving into one of the most mind-bending stories ever told. A story about a family that makes Jeff Bezos look like he's working at a grocery store. A story about secret power. A story about wealth so massive that it literally shapes the world you live in every single day. And here's the craziest part, they do it all while staying completely invisible. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn 3 things that will change how you see the world. First, you'll discover exactly who this family really is and where their power actually comes from. Second, you'll understand how they've managed to stay hidden for so long while controlling everything around us. And third, you'll see the evidence that proves they're real, and they're closer to you than you ever imagined. This isn't science fiction. This is the story they don't want you to know. Let me show you exactly how this happened. In the year 2157, humanity had spread across 3 planets. Earth was still home to billions of people, but Mars had become a thriving colony with advanced technology. Venus had been transformed into a floating city in the clouds. And yet, despite all this progress, one mystery remained completely unsolved. Nobody knew who actually ran things. Most people believed that governments controlled the world. They thought presidents and prime ministers made all the big decisions. But a small group of researchers on Earth started asking different questions. These weren't ordinary scientists. They were investigators, historians, and data analysts who noticed something very strange. The patterns didn't make sense. Every major war in human history seemed to follow the same pattern. Every major economic collapse happened at exactly the right moment to benefit the same group of people. Every technological breakthrough seemed to appear right when certain individuals needed it most. It was like watching a chess game where someone was moving pieces before the game even started. One researcher named Dr. Sarah Chen decided to investigate. She started connecting dots that nobody else had ever connected before. She looked at ancient records. She studied family trees. She traced money flows through banks that supposedly didn't exist. What she found was absolutely astonishing. There was a family. Not just any family, but a bloodline that stretched back nearly 2,000 years. This family had lived through every major period of human history. They had been present during the fall of Rome, the rise of kingdoms, the Industrial Revolution, and the Space Age. But here's the incredible part, they had never aged like normal people. This wasn't possible. Nobody lives for 2,000 years. Nobody stays the same age for centuries. But the evidence Dr. Chen found suggested something even stranger. The family didn't consist of the same individuals living forever. Instead, it was a carefully organized group of genetically engineered descendants. Each generation looked nearly identical to the previous one. Each generation inherited the same knowledge, the same goals, and the same incredible power. The technology to do this didn't come from Earth. It came from somewhere else entirely. According to Dr. Chen's research, this family had made contact with an alien civilization approximately 3,000 years ago. This alien civilization was far more advanced than humanity. They possessed technology that could extend life, enhance intelligence, and grant abilities that seemed magical to ordinary humans. The aliens had chosen this one family to be their representatives on Earth. But why? What did aliens want with one human family? The answer was both simple and terrifying. The aliens were traitors. They traveled between star systems, looking for rare resources and valuable knowledge. They had found Earth. They had found humanity. And they had decided that one special family would serve as middlemen between the alien civilization and the human species. This family would receive incredible wealth and power. In exchange, they would guide human civilization in directions that benefited the aliens. This explained everything. Every major historical event. Every sudden shift in technology. Every unexpected war or peace agreement. The family was playing three-dimensional chess with all of human history, always making moves that advanced their alien masters' goals, while also accumulating more and more wealth and power for themselves. Dr. Chen's discovery led her to classified documents hidden in underground vaults. She found ancient agreements signed in languages that predated known human writing systems. She discovered photographs of family members from different centuries wearing the exact same face. She uncovered bank records showing transactions so massive that they dwarfed the entire wealth of nations. The family controlled an estimated $240 trillion in assets. That's not billions. That's not even trillions like normal billionaires have. We are talking about wealth so enormous that it's impossible for ordinary minds to even comprehend. To put it in perspective, if this family gave away $1 billion every single day for 1 million years, they still wouldn't run out of money. But nobody knew about them. Nobody talked about them. It was like they had perfected the art of invisibility while holding all the power in the world. Dr. Chen knew she had stumbled onto something incredibly dangerous. She knew that powerful people would want to keep this secret buried forever. But she also knew that humanity deserved to know the truth about who really controlled their world. She began to compile her evidence into a comprehensive report. What she didn't know was that the family had already noticed her investigation, and they were taking action to stop her before she could reveal their secrets to the world. Once you know what to look for, the evidence of this family's influence becomes impossible to ignore. Dr. Chen realized that historians had been documenting the family's activity for centuries. Nobody had ever put the pieces together, but the signs were absolutely everywhere. Consider the Renaissance. This period of human history witnessed an explosion of art, science, and invention. Suddenly, in a short period of time, humanity went from medieval darkness to brilliant enlightenment. Where did the money come from to support all these artists and scientists? Who funded Leonardo da Vinci's experiments? Who paid for the printing press revolution? According to Dr. Chen's research, it was the family. They were using their wealth to deliberately push human civilization toward greater knowledge and technological advancement. But why? Why would an alien-backed family want humanity to become smarter and more advanced? The answer lies in understanding what the aliens truly wanted from Earth. They weren't interested in simple conquest. They didn't want to destroy humanity or enslave us. Instead, they wanted Earth to develop into a major hub of innovation and scientific advancement. They wanted humanity to become valuable trading partners. By investing in human progress, the family was essentially preparing Earth to join the alien trading network. Look at the Industrial Revolution. This period seemed to happen suddenly. One moment, society was primarily agricultural. The next moment, factories appeared everywhere and technology exploded outward. But Industrial Revolution didn't just happen randomly. It required massive amounts of capital. It required people who understood new technologies. It required specific resources to be available at exactly the right time. The family made all of this happen. They financed inventors. They connected brilliant minds. They ensured that critical resources became available whenever they were needed. They guided the entire trajectory of human industrial development like a master conductor leading an orchestra. Then came the space age. After World War II, both the United States and the Soviet Union suddenly developed advanced rocket technology. They raced to put a man on the moon. They built satellites and space stations. They sent probes to other planets. Where did all this technology come from? Official history says it was developed independently by American and Soviet scientists. But Dr. Chen's research suggested something different. The family had given the technology to both sides. They had ensured that both superpowers would develop space capabilities. They had orchestrated the entire space race as a way to accelerate human technological development. By making two nations compete, they had forced rapid advancement that would have taken much longer if humanity had developed space technology gradually. This pattern repeated again and again. Every major leap in human civilization followed the same pattern. First, the family would invest enormous wealth into a particular field. Second, they would ensure that brilliant minds were brought together. Third, they would guide the entire process toward outcomes that benefited their goals. Fourth, humanity would experience a breakthrough that seemed natural and inevitable, when in fact it had been carefully orchestrated. But here's where it gets really interesting. The family didn't just invest in science and technology. They also invested in control systems. They created institutions designed to shape how humans think and what humans believe. They funded educational systems. They influenced media organizations. They created financial systems that kept wealth concentrated in their hands. In the modern era, this became even more sophisticated. Banks, corporations, governments, and international organizations all had connections to the family. Not obvious connections. These were deep, hidden connections that would take years of research to uncover. But they were real. Dr. Chen discovered that members of the family sat on the boards of the world's largest corporations. They owned controlling interests in major media companies. They had representatives in government cabinets and parliaments across the world. They funded research institutions and universities. They literally shaped every major institution on Earth. The most shocking part was how they did it so invisibly. They didn't need to announce their power. They didn't need dramatic displays of control. Instead, they worked through layers of intermediaries. They hid their involvement behind corporate structures and shell companies. They ensured that no single action could be traced directly back to them. To ordinary people, it looked like the world was naturally progressing. Markets were rising and falling. Technologies were being invented. Governments were making decisions. But underneath all of this, one family was pulling the invisible strings, guiding humanity toward their ultimate goal. What was that ultimate goal? Dr. Chen's research was beginning to provide an answer, but it was an answer that terrified her. It suggested that the family wasn't just managing humanity. They were preparing us for something much bigger, something that would change the entire nature of human existence. Dr. Chen knew she was getting close to a truth that the family would kill to protect. She had already noticed surveillance, strange people watching her apartment, computer systems that seemed to be monitoring her research. She realized that she was running out of time. Whatever she was going to do, she needed to do it quickly. She decided to reach out to someone she trusted, a colleague named Marcus Webb, who worked at a research facility on Mars. Marcus was one of the few people who believed her theories. More importantly, he had access to resources and archives on Mars that weren't monitored by Earth-based surveillance systems. When she contacted Marcus, she told him everything. She explained what she had discovered about the family. She shared her evidence about the alien contact. She described the systematic influence they had exerted over human civilization for millennia. Marcus listened carefully. Then he told her something that made her blood run cold. He had found similar patterns in Mars records. The family was there too. They had representatives on Mars. They had money invested in Mars colonies and development projects. They were essentially doing the same thing on Mars that they had done on Earth. They were guiding the development of Martian civilization, according to an agenda that only they truly understood. More alarming was what Marcus had discovered about Venus. The Venus colony was completely controlled by the family. Every person who lived in the floating cities answered directly to family representatives. Every resource on Venus was managed according to family directives. Venus wasn't just a colony. It was a testing ground. The family was using Venus as a place to experiment with different social systems and technological approaches. This suggested something profound. The family wasn't just managing current human civilization. They were actively reshaping humanity itself. They were testing different approaches to society on Venus. They were guiding Earth's development toward specific technological and social outcomes. They were preparing Mars as a backup location in case Earth faced catastrophic problems. In essence, they were managing humanity's future across 3 planets. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Marcus had not only found evidence of the family's influence, he had also found something else. Something that Dr. Chen had never expected. He had found evidence that the family itself was beginning to fracture. Apparently, not all members of the family agreed with the current plan. A younger generation had begun questioning the decisions of their elders. Some family members believed that humanity should be told the truth about their influence. Others thought the alien partnership had lasted long enough and should be terminated. Some even believed that humanity should be granted independence to develop on its own terms. This internal conflict within the family was creating unprecedented opportunities. For the first time in recorded history, it might be possible to expose the family and their control systems without them being able to immediately suppress the information. Marcus had been approached by someone claiming to represent the family's reform faction. This person had offered Marcus a choice. He could either work with the reform faction to help expose the family's secrets, or he could maintain his silence and allow the current system to continue indefinitely. Marcus had chosen to help. He had been gathering evidence and preparing a comprehensive report that would expose everything. But he needed Dr. Chen's research. He needed the data she had compiled from Earth. Together, they could create an irrefutable case that would force the family's hand and ultimately change everything about human civilization. Dr. Chen agreed immediately. She began uploading all her research to secure servers on Mars. She used encryption protocols that were nearly impossible to break. She created backups distributed across multiple locations. She prepared her findings in a way that would survive any attempt to suppress or destroy them. But she also knew that speed was critical. The family would eventually realize what was happening. They would mobilize their resources to stop her. She had perhaps days, maybe only hours, before they moved against her directly. She packed a single bag with essential items. She said goodbye to her apartment, knowing she would probably never see it again. She booked a flight to the airport with cash, so there would be no digital trail. She was going to make her way off-planet. If she could reach Mars, she could disappear into the colonies. The family couldn't touch her there. Not yet. Not while Marcus and the reform faction were preparing to release the truth. As she sat in the airport waiting for her flight, she opened her computer one final time. She recorded a video message explaining everything she had discovered. She uploaded it to dozens of different servers, spreading it across the internet like seeds. If something happened to her, if the family managed to stop her before she reached Mars, at least her voice would survive. The truth would survive. The flight was called. She stood up, took a deep breath, and headed toward the departure gate. She had no idea what would happen next, but she knew that whatever came would change the world forever. Dr. Chen's flight never made it to the launch station. 40 minutes before takeoff, she was approached by 3 individuals who presented government identification and told her to come with them. She considered running. She considered fighting. But she realized quickly that resistance was pointless. The family had found her. She was taken to a facility she didn't recognize, a place built underground where there were no windows and no communication with the outside world. She was placed in a room with comfortable furniture and told to wait. For 2 days, nothing happened. No interrogation. No threats. Just waiting. On the 3rd day, someone came to visit her. The woman who entered the room was elderly, but moved with the confidence of absolute authority. Dr. Chen immediately recognized her from photographs. This was Elena Voss, one of the oldest continuously active members of the family. A woman who appeared in historical records dating back more than 300 years. Elena sat down across from Dr. Chen and spoke calmly. She said that Dr. Chen had done impressive research. She acknowledged that most of what Dr. Chen had discovered was accurate. She explained that the family had allowed Dr. Chen's investigation to continue because they had been waiting for someone smart enough to uncover their secrets. They had been preparing for this moment for a long time. Elena revealed that the fracture Dr. Chen had detected within the family was real, but not accidental. The family had deliberately allowed this division to emerge because they had reached a critical decision point. They needed to determine whether humanity was ready to know the truth about their existence and their influence. According to Elena, the family had originally been created with a specific mission. The aliens had wanted to ensure that humanity would develop into a viable galactic trading partner. They had invested tremendous resources over thousands of years to guide this development, but they had never intended to hide forever. Their ultimate goal was to eventually reveal themselves and establish an open partnership with humanity. However, revealing the truth had always been risky. A civilization that suddenly learned it had been secretly controlled for millennia might react with anger or fear. They might reject the partnership entirely. They might even decide to fight back against the family and their alien sponsors. So the family had implemented a gradual revealing process. They had allowed evidence of their existence to accumulate. They had permitted researchers like Dr. Chen to piece together the truth. They had created internal divisions to suggest that reform was possible. All of this was designed to prepare humanity psychologically for the eventual full revelation. Elena explained that Dr. Chen's investigation had actually moved the timeline forward faster than originally planned. The family had recognized her as someone of sufficient intelligence and integrity to serve as humanity's first official liaison. They were offering her a choice. She could either be released and allowed to spread the truth she had discovered, with the family's support and assistance, or she could refuse and be imprisoned indefinitely to protect the ongoing experiment. It was, Elena said, a genuine choice. The family didn't want to force unwilling cooperation. They wanted allies who chose freely to help with the transition. Dr. Chen asked questions. She wanted to know about the aliens. She wanted to understand what came next. She wanted to comprehend the larger scope of the family's plans. Elena answered patiently. She explained that contact would eventually come. The aliens would reveal themselves to all of humanity. Earth would be invited to join the Galactic Federation officially. Humans would have access to technologies that would eliminate disease, poverty, and suffering. In exchange, humanity would contribute its talents and resources to the larger galactic community. The aliens, Elena explained, didn't operate through violence or conquest. They operated through mutual benefit. They wanted to help humanity advance, but they also expected humanity to contribute something valuable in return. What could humanity contribute? Creativity, artistic talent, unique perspectives. Humanity had always produced remarkable art and music and literature. The Galactic Federation valued these things tremendously. Dr. Chen realized that this was actually an incredible opportunity for humanity. Not a threat, but a genuine chance to join something larger than themselves. She agreed to work with Alina and the family's reform faction to gradually reveal the truth. Over the next several months, Dr. Chen worked on preparing materials that would help humanity understand and accept what was coming. She collaborated with Marcus on Mars. She worked with sympathetic media figures who could help spread the message. She crafted narratives that would help people transition their understanding of reality without causing panic or chaos. The information began to leak, first through academic channels, then through underground networks, then through major media outlets. At first, many people dismissed it as science fiction or conspiracy theory. But as more and more evidence surfaced, public opinion began to shift. The family wasn't trying to hide anymore. They were actually helping the revelation process. They released their own records. They allowed scientists to study evidence of alien contact. They demonstrated their technology. Slowly, inexorably, the truth spread across the world. The official announcement came on a day that would be remembered as the most significant moment in human history, since the species first developed conscious thought. Representatives of the family, along with Dr. Chen, stood before the entire world through every media channel available. They presented comprehensive evidence of the family's existence, their alien sponsorship, and their 3,000-year plan to prepare humanity for galactic integration. The world's reaction was complex. Some people celebrated. Others felt betrayed that their history had been secretly managed. Many experienced what psychologists called revelatory shock, the sudden realization that their understanding of the world had been fundamentally incomplete. But within a few weeks, a remarkable transformation began. Governments started cooperating more openly. National conflicts began to seem less important in the context of this larger revelation. Religious leaders engaged in extensive conversations about how the existence of alien life and intervention fitted into their spiritual frameworks. Scientists received access to advanced technologies that had previously been restricted. Medical breakthroughs began appearing with regularity that would have seemed impossible before. Dr. Chen was appointed as humanity's primary representative to the family and, eventually, to the alien Federation itself. She worked on transitioning Earth's political and economic systems toward structures that would support galactic integration. It wasn't easy. There was still opposition. Some groups believed the transition was happening too quickly. Others wanted to reject the alien partnership entirely and pursue independent human development. But the tide was moving forward. Mars and Venus openly integrated with Earth's governance structures. Technology sharing accelerated. Young people began learning alien languages in school. Scientists started planning exploration missions to other star systems. The family's true role was finally publicly acknowledged. They weren't oppressive masters who had enslaved humanity. They were benefactors who had invested in human potential for millennia. Yes, they had kept secrets. Yes, they had guided historical events without consulting public opinion. But their ultimate goal had always been to help humanity reach its greatest potential. Within 10 years, the first official contact ceremony took place. Alien representatives visited Earth in massive ships that hung in orbit, visible to everyone below. They greeted humanity not as rulers or conquerors, but as partners. They explained their own history and their vision for the galactic community. They offered humanity formal membership in the Federation. There were conditions. Of course, humans would be expected to follow the Federation's laws. They would be expected to contribute their talents and resources. They would be expected to work cooperatively with other species toward shared goals. But in exchange, humans would gain access to incredible technologies, knowledge, and opportunities. The family's wealth, which had once seemed unimaginably vast in the context of traditional economics, became irrelevant in this new era. Money itself became less important, as resources were distributed according to need and ability. the family transformed into something more like caretakers and advisors, helping guide humanity's integration into the larger galactic community. Dr. Chen lived to see humanity establish its first permanent settlement on an alien world. She lived to see human scientists collaborate with alien researchers to make discoveries that neither species could have achieved alone. She lived to see young people from Earth exploring the galaxy, experiencing wonders that previous generations couldn't even have imagined. In her final years, she was asked by a young journalist what she would tell her younger self if she could go back to the moment when she first discovered evidence of the family's existence. Dr. Chen smiled and said she wouldn't change anything. Yes, the revelation had been shocking. Yes, learning that human history had been secretly managed was difficult to accept. But humanity had proved itself capable of adapting and growing. The hidden family, it turned out, hadn't been hiding because they wanted to control humanity. They had been hiding because they knew that humanity needed time to develop independently before being ready for the truth. They had been waiting for the moment when humans like Dr. Chen would be smart enough and wise enough to discover the secrets on their own terms. That moment had finally arrived. Humanity was ready, and the greatest adventure was just beginning. But here's the twist that nobody expected. 5 years into humanity's integration with the Galactic Federation, a shocking discovery was made. The aliens that the family had been serving. They weren't the only advanced civilization. There were others, and these other civilizations hadn't been told about Earth. Some of them weren't happy about humanity's rapid integration into the Federation. Some believed that Earth should have been left to develop independently. Some saw humanity as potential competitors rather than partners. The revelation opened up a complex galactic political situation that would require careful navigation. The family that had controlled Earth for millennia suddenly found themselves in the role of mediators between multiple alien factions and humanity itself. Dr. Chen realized that the story of hidden influence wasn't over. It was simply entering a new chapter. The real lesson, though, was this: sometimes the greatest powers in the universe aren't the ones making the most noise. Sometimes true influence comes from patience, long-term thinking, and genuine care for the success of others. The family hadn't conquered humanity. They had invested in it, and that investment had paid off in ways that even they couldn't have fully predicted. So here's what you need to understand. This story shows us that the world is far more complex than most people realize. There are hidden influences operating at scales we can barely comprehend. But it also shows us something hopeful. It shows us that hidden doesn't always mean evil. Sometimes, hidden power is used to help humanity become better versions of themselves. The biggest takeaway is this: question what you think you know. Do your research. Look for patterns. Think about what really drives major historical events. The truth is often stranger and more interesting than the official story. And sometimes, when you finally discover the truth, it turns out to be something beautiful. The second takeaway: prepare yourself for possibilities beyond your current understanding. The universe is bigger than we imagine. Other intelligent beings might exist. Advanced technologies might transform society. Humans have an incredible capacity to adapt to new realities if we approach them with open minds and genuine curiosity. The third takeaway: real power often operates invisibly. The most influential people and organizations in the world frequently work behind the scenes. Understanding this helps you make better decisions about who and what to trust. If this story absolutely blew your mind and opened your eyes to new possibilities, please smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-bending Sci-Fi narratives. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. What shocked you most about this story? Which part made you think differently about the world? Join our exclusive community by subscribing to our newsletter. Each week, we share deep-dive investigations into hidden truths, advanced Sci-Fi concepts, and the most mind-expanding stories from across the galaxy. Click the link in the description to sign up. You'll get access to extended content, deleted scenes, and insider information about upcoming videos. And if you're ready to go even deeper, check out our premium course about decoding hidden influence in human history. This comprehensive program teaches you how to recognize patterns, identify hidden power structures, and think critically about information. It's designed for viewers like you who want to understand the world on a deeper level. What theory do you believe? Are you ready to discover what else they're hiding? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.